Okay, we're starting to see some seller incentives out there, and I wanted to address all of what I'm seeing and what you should be looking for. So, one thing I'm seeing sellers do because they're getting a little bit desperate to sell their house, okay? Rates are definitely a little bit too high right now. Prices are going to have to start to come down. And because we all think and feel and know that this is probably temporary, even if it's a year long, that's still relatively short in the real estate world as far as mortgages go and how people live. People should be able to wait this out for about a year if it even lasts that long. And so sellers aren't going to discount their price too much. They're just going to not sell unless they have to, right? So there are people who do have to sell. But if you can hang tight, you're hanging tight. If you're a buyer and you don't need to buy, you're going to wait. If you're a seller and you don't need to sell, you're going to wait. So they're coming up with creative ways to incentivize buyers to get off their couch and go buy their house. One thing I'm seeing sellers offer is a credit specifically to buy down the rate. This does not work, okay? Buying down the rate is too expensive. They do it by points of your loan, percentages of your loan, okay? And it's like a full percentage point of your loan just to get it down 1/8% on the rate. So, and it's exponential. It's not like a point per eighth. It's a point for the first eighth. The second eighth is like 1.5. The third eighth is like another 2 points. It's like before you know it, you're paying like $15,000, $20,000 just to save, barely a half a percentage point on your mortgage rate. And so it's just not worth it. The other part of it is that these rates hopefully are fairly temporary. So if you're spending all this money to buy down the rate, and then the rates drop on their own, you don't get any of that money back, right? So it doesn't really make sense to buy down the rate at this point, unless you really, really need to for saving purposes. But if you're not able to afford that payment, that's probably a bad scenario to get yourself in. Anyway, so buying down the rate it's not a good option right now. You shouldn't be buying down your interest rate, okay? It's too expensive, and the rates are probably going to come down on their own anyway. The second thing is a 2-1 buy down. Now this is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a better program in regards to buying down rates. A 2-1 buy down is when you do have to pay for it. We'll get into the cost in a second. But basically on the first year, payments 1 through 12, you save 2% on the rate. So instead of a 7.5% rate, it comes down to 5.5%. And on the second year, payments 13 through 24, you save 1%. So instead of 7.5%, it's 6.5%. So it's at 5.5%, then 6.5%, then back to normal starting payment 25, which is your third year. The cost of this program is exactly the savings that you would save throughout that time frame. So let's say you're saving $500 a month that first year. That's $6,000 total for the year. And then let's say for the second year, you're saving $250 a month. That's $3,000 for the full year. Total of $9,000 for those 2 years. That's exactly what it's going to cost to purchase this program. There's a couple catches, okay, a couple caveats here. Okay, this is the way that it works. That $9,000 that you saved, quote unquote, goes into an account. And instead of paying the expensive payment, right, that first year you're paying $500 less, well, the bank is just taking from that account the $500 that you're missing and making that payment with you. So they're just subsidizing your payment. All right. They're still getting their payment at the 7.5% rate. So don't think that the bank's being like all nice to you, saving you 2% on your rate. They just got the payments up front. That's all. The other piece is the sellers have to pay for this. You cannot pay it as a buyer. Okay. It would be kind of stupid. It doesn't really make sense anyway. So I get why they're not letting buyers pay for it, right? Because why would you take $9,000 now, put it in an account with the bank just to have them pay your mortgage payment for you? Like you could have just kept your $9,000 and made that higher payment anyway. But I do understand for cash flow purposes. If you have the money now and you're not sure if you're going to have the money later, let's throw 10 grand at the bank or throw 9 grand at the bank, put that in the account, make sure that we can make this low payment for the next year and then a little bit higher for the next year before we're really at this high payment. And hopefully by then rates will come down. So I do get the cash flow piece, but it still is your money and you could have just spread it out over that time as well, which is exactly what the bank is doing. So it doesn't really make sense for buyers to do it, but they won't even let you do it anyway. So sellers have to pay for it. And that's one of the catches because although it's good savings, you are inflating the price by whatever the credit is that you're asking for. So you're going to offer something, offer $350,000 with a $9,000 credit. That's really $341 to the seller, right? So you're either going to have to inflate your price, by however much that credit is to make up for it. And if you're competing with another buyer, that could weaken your offer. It gets into appraisal issues because you are now $9,000 higher than what you really should be paying. Digress. Nonetheless, it's not the best scenario to ask for a credit if you're competing with other buyers. However, if you're giving the seller what they want and they're giving you a credit in return and they were okay with 341, then it's a win-win. The other catch is that it's not a full 2%. So they call it a 2-1 buy down, right? 2% in the first year, 1% in the second year, 2-1. But it's not actually a full 2%. So if the rate's 7.5 and you thought you were getting 5.5, it's actually 5.625. It's an eighth higher than the full 2% discount, and same thing for the second year. So they are tricking you a little bit there. You are not saving the full 9,000. You're probably saving 8,000 or so. And then they're taking that extra 1,000 or whatever the difference is there with that eighth of percent as a fee to subsidize your payment, because it's very hard work and they need a fee for that. So it's not a full 2%, not a full 1%. Sellers have to pay for it. Buyers cannot do it. That's the catch of the program, but it can work. I wouldn't say that because of this program means you should just go buy a house now. And I wouldn't say avoid the program because it's terrible. It's not bad nor good. It can work for some people. Ask your lender about it. Get all the details. Should line up with exactly what I'm saying right now. The one thing you should be looking for is an assumable mortgage. Okay, this is actually a really advantageous situation. Not all mortgages are going to be assumable, but if you have an assumable mortgage, then you can sell your home and advertise that your mortgage is assumable. On the buy side, you should be looking for an assumable mortgage or somebody who's advertising that, because whatever they owe at whatever rate they have, you can take that on and it's still tied to that property and that address, that asset. And you're going to save quite a bit on the interest rate, because most likely that person is sitting there with somewhere between 2.5, most likely 2.5 to 4%. But if they bought this year, it probably could be 4 to 5.5%. Either way, it's much better than 7+, which is where we're at now. So you're going to save a lot of money with a better rate on the majority of that principal. And then if you need more to borrow more and you can afford more, then you're going to have to do that at the higher rate. But again, at least it's not all at the higher rate. So an assumable mortgage is kind of a hidden benefit here. If you have one, you can advertise it. If you're a buyer, you can look for it. Happy to help with that. There's a lot of agent to agent private remarks within the listings that the public cannot see. So as we're searching for properties, I can try to help search for that. And then also I advertise that to realtors on my listings so that they know we have an assumable mortgage that can be taken over, and hopefully my sellers can sell their place and move on. So that's the gist of the 2-1 buy down, the traditional buy down, assumable mortgages, and all the catches and caveats that come with it. If you want to talk a little bit more, of course, let me know. I'm a sucker for coffee. So let me know, hit me up. Happy to go catch some coffee. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.